Good evening and welcome to tonight's Black Mental Health is Black Health. I'm your host, Ms. B, the Black Cops Therapist. And as always, I have an amazing guest who's just going to blow you away. But we start off with some deep breathing. Never know what this day has been for you. So it allows you to have a few deep breaths and to just compose yourself, something you can do any time of day or night. So we're going to count in slowly to 4, in and out through 4 slow deep breaths. Let's get started. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. One more. In, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. Just that woosah at the end of the day. How did that feel for you?
It felt amazing.
Awesome.
Because it's been a week. It's been a lot going on. Busy, busy, busy.
I trust me, I get that. I'm like, it's been 2 weeks this week for me.
Yeah.
So I always say, tell us who you are and tell us something cool about yourself.
Okay. Well, I am Dr. Donielle Pace. I recently just finished my PhD at the illustrious Clark Atlanta University, summer 2025. But I've just actually walked and got hooded this spring. Clark only has one graduation. And I have my PhD in humanities, concentration in Africana women's studies.
Ooh.
And something cool about me is that I'm a grandmother by 40. Maybe that's normal, but I'm still trying to wrap my mind around it. But he's been spoiled, so I'm understanding the difference how they say us grandmothers treat the grandkids differently than we do the kids, and it's evident.
Mm-hmm. How old is the baby?
He is 14 months. So
Oh, yeah.
he
A
just
fun
learning
age
how
to
to
slow
walk.
down.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so he's wobbling everywhere and all the things. So I'm loving it.
And so every day is a new day, with
Every
them. And
day is
whatever they do today, they couldn't do yesterday. So that is so
exactly.
much fun.
It is. It
Enjoy
is.
it. Even if it wasn't your choice to be a grandmother, enjoy it anyway.
I was hoping for another 10 years before that.
I
But
get you. I
I
get
guess
you.
it matches the gray hair.
Don't point out the gray. We don't see it. It's good. It's all good.
Man,
People gray early, so that means nothing.
we do. And my family, we all gray so early.
Yeah,
So
so it
early.
doesn't matter. So tell me about your dissertation. Before you go into detail, well, what your major and everything. Tell me a little about that.
Say that again. My
Yeah, you froze for a minute.
yeah.
So tell me just about the program, your major. Before we
Oh,
even get into the dissertation, you said a lot. So break it
yeah.
down. Tell us what's going on.
So Africana Women's Studies, it is the only PhD program in the nation at Clark Atlanta University. And that's a thing that a lot of people do not know. I didn't even know because when I originally applied for the PhD program, I was going into English and speaking with the graduate dean, Dr. Bird at the time. He suggested from our conversation, because I flew down there, sometimes you got to get in people's faces like, what's going on with my application? But all
Right?
things are really divine too. So speaking with him, he told me, he said, not trying to sway you or, tell you what you should do, but talking to you, it seems like you're more interested in Black women more specifically, can still use English, of course, as a piece, but for the most part, your conversation is geared toward Black women. And he said at the time, his wife, Dr. Stephanie Evans, she was the department chair, and he told me to switch it over, reach out to her, reach out to the director of humanities at the time, Dr. Rico Chapman, and that's the rest is history. I got into that program, and I must say it was the best decision because this program introduced me to the language that is needed to really truly articulate um, not only just Black women's experiences, but me as a Black woman to articulate my experiences, looking at um, events and culture and social issues and political issues through a Black feminist lens, through a womanist lens, and using these theories that are really geared and constructed through Black women, and also even understanding how Black women, we are a special group to where we produce a different type of knowledge because we have this ancestral knowledge
Mm.
that is this that's spiritually connected. And so we Toni Morrison said the what did she call it? Oh my gosh, the I forgot what she called it. It was something uh, I'm gonna have to find it.
It
But
was
anyway,
you.
she mentioned how we as Black people, especially Black women, we gain wisdom from an outer source, not just from the way that uh, Western culture, utilizes the
Mhm.
epistemologies of gathering mainly data and statistics, and you know we just have a different type of way of knowing. We have other ways of knowing, and that is our own type of epistemology, our own type of knowledge that
Mhm.
is geared toward us.
More
So it's
intuitive way than learning than a linear, like you say, just this is.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and just understanding that our creativity is part of our spirituality. Like, we are spiritual beings, and we are really tapped into that when we create and get into those aspects that can really remove those systemic institutions from around us, and really connect to our our ancestors, actually, just our ancestors in general. Yeah.
You talked about the creativity. I have several clients who are Black women who are caught up in that. When those thousands of Black women were laid off, well, I do have some of them for clients. And one of the things I found out in several of them, being able to tap into their creative side, and these were women who were in high powered jobs. They were, really in the side of their brain that was, analytical, and you're doing it and you're crunching the numbers and doing the data, but they had the creative side already.
Yeah.
And it was always their release. And when they've been able to reconnect with that creative part of their being, that's when their healing can begin. Still unemployed, bills still not being paid, but able to smile
Hmm.
of two different people, and they it was like, okay, I may not make it back into corporate America. I'm Black, female, and over 40. So what can I do? And
Hmm.
tapping into their creativity, not just as a source of income, but as a source of self, seems to be fit with what you were saying.
Exactly. And that sense of self and that healing through creativity is actually what led me to working on my dissertation and looking at it in that lane of using Alice Walker's In Search of Our Mother's Gardens, and using her definition of artists with the capital A, us reaching a divinity and showing how even our own mothers and grandmothers, when they were just doing certain things, maybe, you wonder why sometimes your grandmothers would be in the kitchen cooking and stuff. That was a form of their creativity, and that was a way to tap into it. Or gardening in general, like specifically, like what she mentioned in that actual essay, her mom gardening, that was her tapping into her spirituality, because we deal with so much, but when we're able to create, we're staying connected, and it's healing us because we're tapping into a that's happening to our own form of spirituality, because Black women's spirituality just is very unique, because
Mhm.
it involves the ancestors and God, and we tap into all of those supernatural realms when we're creating.
You let's jump into your dissertation. Specifically, yours dealt with music and Jill
Mhm.
Scott. But let me ask you, why music? Because as you were saying, our creativity is so much. There is gardening, there is art, there's visual art, there is dance, and all of that is that creative side. And you narrowed in not just on music, not just on singers, but on one person. How did it go from music to one person?
So I always loved music. When I was little, I thought I was gonna own a record label. Maybe still do that. I don't know. You just never know. Or write for a music journal. Like music was always there. Um, and how I jumped from that because I actually ended up being in the music industry, doing radio promotions and working with the label 300 Entertainment under the Warner umbrella,
Mm-hmm.
and just being in those meetings and looking at the artists that are being signed, and just trying to understand it all because I also helped my uncle with his artist Jay Howell, and seeing the talent that this guy has where it's like singing for real, and it's being hard to for him to get signed, and he has a fan base but it's just not enough for that. But looking at the ones that are being signed and looking at the type of music that is being perpetuated, um, when we when we signed a young kid who was talking about everything that he should not be talking about at like 12, 13
Mm.
years old.
Mm.
Like it was a wrap for me, and I was like, I knew it was something else that our music stood for. Don't get me wrong, I love the rap. I love the all the things, and yeah, I can like a little ratchet so it's not me being so, oh my gosh. But I knew our music did more than just that. And so I started to just really tap into uncovering, or not even just uncovering, but also reestablishing um how our music was not supposed to go in this direction. It was not
Mhm.
for actual entertainment. It's always been for the raising of the consciousness and healing. It provided a healing. Even when you would hear I'm an old school person. Um, Give me Isley Brothers, but even the way that they talked about
Mhm.
making love and stuff, it was still a spiritual aspect to that because our music never separated the spiritual and the secular. It was always connected. Um, and so the separation of it, you see how it shifts to them just um, making these entertainer constructs. And then I really, me with my black feminist lens and things and womanist lens, I'm looking at the women and I'm like, all of them are in leotards. All of them have to dance. All of them
Mhm.
are talking about this. All of them are. It's no matter if they're rapping, no matter if they're singing, they have to be like this. Even
Yeah.
the ones who used to be, like the Keisha Coles, even them coming back and like now the leotards. And I'm just like, mm, we're not monolithic.
Right.
Like we
Yeah.
are it's so much to a black woman, so many layers. We're
Yeah.
not this only, and the thing, and I know that everyone is like this unachievable uh level of success that they're trying to push these women to of the Beyonce and have this carbon copy of her, but they already know that that's unachievable because you can't copy someone
You have
and
to be
be,
yourself. Yeah. See,
you
that's
know,
her. Well,
that is, you
I
know.
wanted to comment on what you said about just even the spiritual nature of our music, and to those listening, if you think about music, music invokes a feeling.
Mhm.
And whether it's gospel music, country western music,
Yeah.
hip hop, rap, R&B, it evokes a feeling in
Yes.
you.
Yes, it does.
And it doesn't evoke the same feeling in everyone, but it invokes a feeling. You hear it, and there's certain music you can listen to just to calm down.
Yes.
You're having a rough day, or maybe there's that song that just makes you feel good. I'm having a bad day. Let me go turn on.
Yes,
Turn on that, and it can change over time.
it
But it's
does.
a
It
song that
changes.
just as you change, you're in different time. My cleanup music when I was young was Earth, Wind, and Fire. If I
Ooh,
needed to do a top to bottom clean in my home, let me put on some Way of the World. This is way back. I put on me some Earth, Wind, and Fire. I could clean my house and clean it well.
listen, that's
No
how I do the
trouble.
90s R&B cleanups.
Mm-hmm.
Or I have a club old school playlist where it's the 60s, 70s music.
Mm-hmm.
So either one of those, I'd be like, okay,
Yep.
I'm
I've got
good.
some 90s stuff that I just put on and you just there. And so
Mm-hmm.
music it just invokes a feeling in
Yeah,
us, just to whether it's sad or if you want to, there's music people put on to feel sad. I need to have a
yeah.
good cry. Let me go listen to XYZ and I'm gonna give a cry, So
That's what I used to do with Aretha Franklin's. It sometimes it hurts so bad from the waiting to exhale.
mm-hmm.
When I needed to let it out, I was like, let me put this on, and
Yeah,
it would
just
just
I
be
can cry on
very
that one. It happens. So with your dissertation,
uh-huh.
you settled on Jill Scott. We've talked about how important music is, and like I say, it just invokes feelings, and we
Right.
can use it to. Which I do want to comment just on our mental health. That is one of the ways that music is important in our mental health. And it
Yes.
can go either way. We can listen to some music that is negative to our mental health. I've worked with
Right.
a lot of teens over the years, and there are certain songs, they're more in the rock genre, but it's still important in this, that
Mm-hmm.
promote cutting. I've worked with kids who were,
Yes.
were cutters. And they would show me the lyrics. So not just the beat, but then there was also a certain sound and timbre to that music, as well as the lyrics. So music can be used for good or bad. Just wanted
It
to,
sure can.
kind of throw that out there.
It sure can. And I'm glad you said that because that's where my I started to look at the music industry as an industrial complex. So in my dissertation, I call it a musical industrial complex. It is where
Mhm.
it's a predatory, capitalistic driven system that is set up to exploit. And I put it specifically with Black women and that coerces them to perpetuate or actually recapitulate their own exploitation through this entertainer construct
Mm.
that is just a legacy, a legacy of modern day minstrelsy. Is because they, it's the agenda has been the same. It just shows up in different ways, and
Yeah.
and and that's what we need to understand. And I know people be like, well, without this, but we got to call it out. But I looked at Jill Scott because I didn't want my dissertation to be a way to where it just talks about Black women being exploited, but I wanted to merge to where there is some power that we still, in autonomy and agency that we still actually hold while working within these systems. Um, and I look at Jill Scott, I remember seeing her, it was a little over 10 years ago, my first time actually seeing her in concert. And everything that that people comment now, like, oh, she's saying put the phones up, she's saying that she's been doing that. Like, she's been telling you, put your phones away, take your pictures, get that on out the way, and pay attention and be into her
Be
experience.
involved, be present.
Be present, exactly. And I could not articulate exactly what that experience was. I just knew that I would tell people the best concert I ever been to, besides my bestie Janet Jackson, was Jill Scott. I tell everyone, I'm like, you have to see Jill Scott. You have to see Jill Scott. So when one of my committee members and my mentors, when I was in a little rut with the dissertation, because I was going to do performance poets and things of that nature, but I was so heavy involved with music that my all my energy was going towards music and not towards poetry at the
Mhm.
moment. And
Mhm.
so she was like, man, that He Loves Me by Jill Scott is so spiritual. She said something there. And she was like, and so I listened to it and I was like, but I say, to be honest, I say her live performances, we started conversing about it. And then I was going to look at Erica Badu, Jill Scott, and Lauryn Hill. But as I
Mhm.
was doing research, I was like, you know what? There's research on Jill Scott, but there's no research on Jill Scott.
Mm,
Everyone does her first album, or her aesthetic and the whole neo soul, that whole um
right.
vibe. But I'm like, she has 3 live albums that came out after a year or two, right after each of her first 3 albums consecutively. Like, so that's what she did.
Right.
Like, it's something that she's trying to do with these live
Mhm.
albums. Because, Erica Badu had the one, Lauryn Hill had the one, but she has 3. It was kind of like giving the Nina Simone with
Mm,
putting out live albums. And so I just started listening to it, and I'm like, she's doing a work. There's a spirit work going on here. The way she switches the music, the way she incorporates all of the survived African elements. And yes, I am saying survived African elements to those people. Yes, those musical elements from Africa survived through the Middle Passage, found its way
mhm.
to the work fields and to the plantations and to our spirituals, to the blues, all those things. Those elements are still there. The call and response, the repetition, um, and just the notes that she was singing, where, like I said, with Black women's voices, I started to focus in on the Black woman's voice, to where you don't even have to say anything, you can just moan, and
Mhm.
that means something, and we know what it means. And so it just made me think about how she, over 20 years, have remained relevant and influential, but she some kind of way does not operate in this entertainer construct that has been um, forced upon a lot of Black women. And so I see that she, with her live performances, it's like she performs this. I use Barbara Ann Tears, from the Black Arts Movement, her ritualistic revivals. So I talk about the she's performing ritualistic revivals in her live performances, and
Explain what
also.
you mean by that, by the ritualistic.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. So with Barbara Ann Teer, what she said is that when you're performing live with her plays, she actually used it for plays, but she incorporated music in her plays. But she was saying people are supposed to leave there different. It's supposed to be a
Mhm.
revival that takes place, and so it should be to unify, to educate, and to I'm supposed to know the last one. Educate, unify, and to cleanse.
Mm.
So you should be getting educated, which Jill Scott does. She
Mhm.
finds ways to let us know where we came from, what's going on, all these issues within the Black community. She also gives space for unification, like on Do You Remember Me, the live version. She creates a moment where the women sing it, and she say, you sing it to the men, and they're singing, "Do you remember me? Do you?" They repeating it, and then she have the men do it, and she say, "Sing it to your women," and they're singing, "Do you remember me?" And when you're listening to that live and you're hearing them
Mhm.
sing it, you feel the
Yes.
connection and the unification, and it's actually that whole, it does all three: educate, unify, and cleanse, all at the same time. And then Tears, ritualist revival say it should be a spiritual cleanse. Like, so you should be getting these things. When she was doing her plays, this is what she was saying would happen within her, using a womanist lens. So she took the Yoruba and Black Christian traditions, merged them
Mhm.
together along through a womanist lens, through a Black woman's lens,
That's
and
a
create.
lot.
Yeah. And so, but when I found it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. And so I used that part. I focused in on that of her live performances, but also one thing that I noticed is that Jill Scott merged different genres, because of course we're always put into just R&B,
Mhm.
and then they force neo soul upon them and all that, which she as well as others have rejected that box. But when you listen to her live performances, she has blues, she has jazz, She has rock. Like she switches her sounds up and has rock.
Hmm.
So you're getting Betty Davis and and a little bit of Mama Thornton, and you're hearing these women, you're hearing these women, and then the classical. A lot of people don't know about Elizabeth Taylor Greenfield, also known as Black Swan. She was the first Black woman, Black singer, period, professional singer, during the antebellum period from Philadelphia, from Philadelphia, and she sung, across seas and things of that nature. But she was mocked. That's why
Yes.
she was given Black Swan. We
Hmm.
have an Anderson who couldn't sing at the
Constitution Hall.
yes, at that hall. So what she also does while creating this ritualistic space, she invokes she invokes these ancestors. So now she's giving all of these women, the blues women, the jazz women, the rock singers, the classical women, a space
Mm-hmm.
where their voices can now manifest and can be heard. And you hear it, like, especially, oh my gosh, that He Loves Me, when she does it, the opera note. And it's really she does them on all three of the live performance albums, but that very last one with the House of Blues is something about that one. It's the longest run she does with the opera, and it's like you can really feel the other voices coming from that. And like I said, I know it's very abstract, but it's real and so my whole thing is when Black women like Jill Scott do live performance, they um they return it, they put it back into this sacred practice, and in doing so they elevate themselves in that moment as an artist, as a divine, in this divine energy, and it's more of a spiritual experience. It allows them, it's not entertainment anymore, it's more of a spiritual experience that the audience experiences.
That's what I was saying earlier about just the power of music. How it does take you different places, and it does take you to that level of
Yes.
that experience. And she is one who can do that. And I think it is important pointing out when thinking about Jill Scott. You're right; she doesn't fit in that mode of what a Black woman singer is supposed to be. And not
Mm-mm.
even knocking anybody who plays that role, but
Oh,
we're not a monolith, and we
mm,
need to be able to do more than that one role. And
exactly.
it is. And yeah, it evokes a lot of feeling, a lot of power in that. Uh,
Right.
Amazing. I want to ask you one other thing. We only
Okay.
have about a minute and a half left,
Oh,
so
I'm gonna get to talking.
that was good. But you also said you were a poet.
I
You don't
am.
have any work you want to share with us, do you? I mean,
Well, I do. I could do a little snippet of
do a little
something.
snippet
I
of a
always,
little something, something.
I always say, I am not a trend, new trend, parts of a trend. Don't label me a trendsetter with the labels that define you. You see, I've been given a bigger agenda that graces style in a whole new realm. I have no era. I am a classic that will transcend over time, a best seller that didn't have to touch the market. My mark was already made, plan already laid, which is why your sun beams through my it's just why my sun beams through your little shade, because I remain prayed up is my only direction.
Love it. Love it. Powerful. And poetry and music, I've just got to throw this in, they're hand in hand. They're really
Yes,
two sides of the same coin because lyrics are poetry. And
absolutely,
poetry is lyrical when you read it, when you speak
absolutely,
it. So they're so
absolutely.
intertwined. Well, we're at the end of what seems like a quick 30 minutes for me.
Not so fast.
There's so much more you can say. So, but I will give you the opportunity. Is there one more thing you'd like to say before we end?
Well, one thing I would like for us to, as Black people, I want us to understand is that we have been having these ongoing discourse about what's going on, what's wrong with the Black community, what's wrong, and we're constantly trying to put a band-aid over generations and generations of wounds that needs a lot of stitching. So
Mhm.
until we're really ready to have real conversations about where it actually stemmed from, enslavement, we need to work on better ways to where we can have productive conversations, because we can get there, but we have a lot to undo, and we have to understand that and give ourselves grace while we're trying to figure it out, because we've been we were enslaved longer than we've been free.
Mhm.
So we have to remind ourselves that and give ourselves grace as we're navigating these systems that are not meant for us.
So
And I don't
true.
know why I said that, but you know, this.
I love it. That was a perfect thing to end on. And I always end with a call to action. And that call to action, just what she just said, that is our call to action tonight. So thank you for that. And I
Mhm.
always say, vote, vote, vote. Be an educated voter. There's some that say, well, voting is played out. But there are many avenues we need to do to make that change. Voting is one of
Exactly.
them. But don't vote just because of color. Don't vote just because somebody tells you. Be an educated voter. Well, I
Exactly.
am Ms. B, the Black Couch Therapist, and thank you, Donielle, for being
Thank
here, and
you.
thank you guys for listening. See you next week.